I had zero, and I mean zero idea what a syndication ever was. I thought it was just a brand new term that Grant Cardone made up.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought he was the only one who did syndications the way he was talking about it. So zero idea. It sounded amazing, and it sounded a lot more scalable than a single family home rental, which we had at the time.
Welcome to the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and I'm so excited that you're here. The Plan B CRNA podcast is the only show made specifically for nurse anesthetists who are exploring options outside of their traditional career paths. This is the place to expand your mind and your goals as we uncover new ways to produce side income together. Join me for some honest, unscripted discussions with other CRNAs who are transforming their financial lives. This episode is brought to you by On-Call Capital. On-Call Capital is dedicated to educating CRNAs and other healthcare providers about investing outside of the traditional stock market. On-Call Capital also provides opportunities for you, yes, you, to create passive income and generational wealth while also lowering your taxable income through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, make sure you do that right now so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for joining me today. And now, on with the show. Welcome to another Provider Spotlight episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Jones, and my guest today is a chiropractor who I find is best described as a serial entrepreneur. I mean, this guy's just into a ton of stuff. Dr. Alex Tam has owned his own business for 13 years, where he's been working to transform lives through the latest technology in natural healthcare. Along with his wife, Helen, he founded Zephyr Equity Group, which seeks to make real estate investing easy, profitable, and safe for fellow healthcare professionals. Not only that, but Alex is also the co-founder of the Streamline Team, a company that provides business owners with adaptable virtual assistants that help their businesses grow and adapt. He and his wife have a portfolio of over 500 units in thriving markets around the U.S. Alex also enjoys time with his family in Zephyr Cove, Nevada, where they explore the outdoors while hiking, paddleboarding, and bicycling. Thanks for joining me on the show today, Alex.
Hey, Bobby, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we were kind of like ships in the night, over at, Multifamily Mastery 5. But, I'm glad we were able to connect afterwards, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you so far.
Absolutely. Same here.
So now I know you've had your own practice for many years, and I know that, a lot of physicians out there, they rely on their businesses for building their retirements. So when and why did you decide to start looking outside of that business for your own retirement needs?
No, that's a great question. For when I start looking at outside of my business for retirement needs is when I went to my first 10X Grant Cardone conference back in 2018. And the reason why I went there was to help me personally grow, to figure out, okay, it's almost been 10 years since I've been in practice, since I started in 2009. And I thought to myself, do I continue doing the same thing? But then also, how do I grow myself? Mm-hmm. So upon attending the conference, he spoke about syndications. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, Bobby, until then, I had zero, and I mean zero idea what a syndication ever was. I thought it was just a brand new term that Grant Cardone made up.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I thought he was the only one who did syndications the way he was talking about it. So zero idea. It sounded amazing, and it sounded a lot more scalable than a single family home rental, which we had at the time. Mm-hmm. So I chatted with my wife and I said, this could be something special. We've never dove into real estate like this, and we invested as an LP, a limited partner, into his deals. And then soon after realize the tax savings, the cash flow, and the safety and the steadiness of multifamily. That's how we've decided to really, really take it on and do it for the next few years after that.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, though, that you first went to the conference not because you were trying to 10x your retirement or 10x into real estate. You were trying to actually 10x your own physician business, right?
Yeah, my physician business and my life in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why I went there.
So, as a business owner, you take a very different approach to taxes and retirement than a standard W-2 or even a lot of 1099 employees. So can you share a little bit more about that with the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, as a business owner, we have write-offs and depreciation of the things that we use, right? Anything that's business related.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a business, at the year end, all the benefits and the profits flows onto you personally, right? So when that happens, I didn't know there was something called cost segregation out there, where real estate professionals are able to take advantage of, right? So I realized after our first full year of investing, a full year in 2019, by the time 2019 rolled around, the end of 2019, there was a huge tax savings because my wife is by then a real estate professional that can write off against earned income as well. So, as when you own a business, you're always looking for ways. How do you save taxes? Right? How do you save on taxes? And that has just been huge. And real estate has been such a blessing for us.
Yeah. Well, an income, that you get from working, from trading time for money, that is the highest taxable income that you can make.
Right.
Whereas as a business owner, you can actually determine how you want to be paid and determine profit sharing and things like that may be taxed at lower rates than your standard income. Correct?
Yeah. Although it could be taxed at a lower rate, you're still getting taxed once it flows through to you personally. Right.
So tell me how investing in real estate has helped you to kind of shield some of those profits and shield some of that income.
Well, what we didn't realize was, say for every 50,000 that we invested, right? In cost segregation due to the bonus depreciation, because normally any real estate is depreciated over 27 and a half years. But when it's done, when a cost segregation study is done, where you have an engineer come out and they're counting everything, right? They're counting the life expectancy of a light bulb to a switch to a door. They're able to accelerate most of that in year one. So in year one of investing, we were able to write off 60 to 80% of what we invested against our income, whether it's passive or active, as a real estate professional. And that was huge. Imagine for every 50,000 you invested, you wrote off, let's just say middle of the road, 70%, you wrote off 35. So if you do some quick math here, someone who earned that 50,000, right? If they're paying 30% in taxes, well, now they're paying about 15,000 in taxes, right? You get to take home 35. But let's just say you had an extra 50 that you wanted to invest. Well, that 50,000 earned income, 70% is wrote off in cost segregation. So now you only tax that 15,000 at 30%, which is, well, a lot less.
Yeah. I mean, that savings is, roughly speaking, about $12,000 for that one $50,000 investment. So that, you start doing the math. If you've invested more, then that savings can grow even more. Yeah.
You save less than a third.
Yeah.
So you save huge.
Well, and that's powerful enough on its own. That is a reason to get into this as a passive investor. But you decided with your wife, obviously she's transitioned because she's a physical therapist, right?
Yeah, she's a doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah. So she has transitioned to being a real estate professional. Does she still practice?
The thing is, she has gone away from telling people that she's a physical therapist. only because, and here's why, Bobby. We both went to school and studied in UC Davis. We both graduated with a degree in exercise biology.
Okay.
I went to chiropractic school. She went into doctor of physical therapy school. We both graduated right around 2008, right? She worked from there 2008, 9, 10, 11, and part of 2012. And then she was pregnant with our little one.
Okay.
Well, our little one was born in September, but that same year in May, the contract that she was in wanted to pay her less, but work her more and give her less help. So she then asked me, she says, Alex, what do you think about me not working for a few months? Give me some time to bond with the baby, rest up. And I was like, sure. I said, whatever it takes. We were a year or two into the practice, and the practice wasn't really steady yet. It didn't get stabilized yet, right?
Yeah.
Real estate terms. But I said, yeah, sure. Let's do it. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll open on weekends. And it was almost as if a switch happened. When I made that commitment, Bobby, our practice started taking off.
Okay.
My seriousness in the practice and growing it accelerated. And then 1 year turned into 2 years of my wife staying at home, turned into 5. And about 2 months ago, now this is 10 years in now, right?
Mm-hmm.
She asked me one day, she says, this just came in the mail. And I said, what's that? She said, it's my doctor of physical therapy renewal. And I said, okay. And I said, so what's up? She said, you think I should still renew this? Now, here's the thing. Helen is a very, she's a very methodical person, and she has her thought process already. So by the time she asked me that question, Bobby, I looked at her, I said, the fact that you asked me that question tells me you've already thought about it, and that you kind of made up your mind on what you think it is. You just kind of want to see what I think.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, here's the thing. Our practice is going where it should be. We've invested in real estate. And I said, what's the chance? If you haven't practiced in the last 10 years, what's the chance that you're going to practice in the next 20? I said, very slim. So I told her, I was like, hey, let's be straightforward. There's 2 ways. 1, I die. You'll get a lot of money anyways. 2, we get a divorce. And I'll be paying a crap load of alimony anyways. I said, let's just be straightforward. Either way, you're set.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And then I told her, I said, but in all seriousness, I said, I think you need to be more of the real estate professional that you've been the last few years. You're not going to go back because it just won't make sense.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, wow. So we transitioned her out, right? Since then, and who knows what the road leads for me. We don't know exactly yet.
Well, and truth be told, she's saving you guys a lot of money by being a real estate professional.
Yes.
I mean, the amount of tax savings that you can get as a real estate professional is immense when you're talking about higher income individuals.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I told her she's worth more not working.
Yeah.
Not working as a PT, but working as a real estate professional.
Yeah.
Because
it's pretty amazing.
Put in a lot of hours.
Yeah. But I mean, it's worth it, not just from a monetary standpoint, but from a flexibility standpoint and, lifestyle standpoint. I know that it's made a big difference for our family. And, because I qualify as a real estate professional. So, it's made a big difference tax wise for us. I can only imagine what it's done for you guys. But, going back to that, though, that is more of an active role. So you guys found this thing that was working for you and you were doing it from a passive standpoint, but making that jump to being active in it that's a big leap. So what made you decide to go that route? Was it the tax savings from, being a real estate professional? Was it just, hey, I want to learn more about this business and this is the only way I can do it? Or what was it for you guys?
It was really a little bit of both of what you just mentioned. The first thing was realizing the tax savings behind it. And when I realized the tax savings behind it, oh my gosh, this is an investment that you don't get taxed on? What? And I started diving deeper and deeper into videos, learning more, and realize you can be active, right? And this active real estate, this seems really cool. And then learning that a lot of successful people in the world have investments in real estate. So for me, if I'm going to passively invest in something, I need to know more about it. If I'm going to tell my friends about it, I can't just say, oh yeah, I work with this group, just write them a check. Right?
Yeah.
I need to be a lot more credible than that. And the only way to be more credible and learn more and to build more trust and relationships is to actually do it. Right? And I realized when I talk to my other healthcare professional and friends who are doctors, they're like, oh yeah, it's okay. I'll look into it. As a passive investor, when I tell them about that, they'll just look into it. I didn't have enough ammo, right, to really show them, hey, this is how it actually works.
Yeah.
And then give them an opportunity to invest with us now.
Yeah. Well, that's a cool thing. That's something that, to this point with my own business, I have been working with different operators across the country and things like that. And I raise capital for them and I'm a part of their team. And I come in and I provide, various services depending on what the team needs. It's not just about capital raising. It is about, other things as well. And, but there is something about getting in, getting involved, learning, what's working, what's not, and learning more about the teams that you're working with. There's a lot to be said for finding your own team and finding your own group of people and working together on these deals and making them happen. So, kudos to you for taking that jump. I think it's a big deal to be able to do that. But that leads me to my next question. You create Zephyr Equity Group. So what are you trying to accomplish here? What's your goal for the company? What's your goal for yourself with Zephyr Equity Group?
So the goal for the company, the mission and vision is to really help doctors achieve financial freedom in a way that they didn't think it was possible. Most doctors, the characteristic of a healthcare professional in any field is you work until you retire or you die. And you either die or retire. And most of them don't even retire at 65. They're working until they're well into their 70s and whatnot. And some even 80s, right? Especially the ones that are in private practice.
Yeah.
And the ones that I've talked to, I've asked them before, like, hey, why do you still work? And most of them is because they have to. They never, put away enough in finance, or they did put away enough into stocks and whatnot. And something like 2008, or depending on what you're into in 2022, wiped out half their stuff. Yeah. So I said, man, is that what I want for me? Right. But then I looked at it. I said, we have this amazing tool called multifamily real estate. And to be active on it, I just want to be able to share it with my fellow doctors and say, hey guys, check this out. I'm not saying don't invest in stocks, but if this looks like this is right for you, invest in this instead so that you can achieve that financial freedom. You don't have to just keep up with Mr. Jones down the street, because that's a for sure way you're not going to achieve financial freedom. You're paying off someone else's bill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's a big reason why I reach out to people in, with what I do, is to try and change those minds. I'm not telling people to invest in real estate exclusively, that's part of my thing is talking about true diversification, and people think they're diversified in the stock market when they're really not, when they are still subject to market risk. Overall, the stock market dropped by about 20% this year. And, there are other asset classes that did perfectly well within the stock market, but also real estate did perfectly well outside of the stock market. And it wasn't subject to that same market risk. The cash flow from my own investments continued in multifamily and in commercial real estate versus some of the stuff in the stock market. So having a good balance of stocks, of real estate, of other things that maybe are a little more risky, but it's a smaller portion of your portfolio. It's just there to kind of boost those returns. And if something happens with them and they don't work out, then it's not a huge hit to your portfolio. But being able to have that balance of things that are not directly correlated to one another is a key component of that true diversification. And real estate is not necessarily correlated to the stock market. And that's what makes it a powerful tool to use alongside stock market investing.
Right. No, you're 100% right. And when people understand that, it completely has I see when I talk to doctors, and then I start telling them about what real estate investing is. And you almost see it in their eyes that there's a paradigm shift. Like a light bulb goes off at a certain point, and they're like, oh. And it's usually when I tell them about the tax savings and how you can depreciate and the cash flow. And then we start calculating, well, if you cash flow, let's say a cash on cash, 7-8%, what would it take for you to invest to cover your personal expenses? And we break that down, and they're like, well, wow, that's achievable. That's achievable. Well, yeah, I said, if you don't continue buying stupid stuff, cars, boats, watches, and belts, you'll achieve that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that makes sense. At the end of the day, we all want time, right? We all want to get some time back to be with family, be with our friends, and do things that we really love. And I've spoken to some folks that are in real estate who are professional passive investors, right? That's all they do. They passively invest. They don't do any deals actively. They could, but they choose not to. I said, why do you choose not to? Well, they said, because we make enough passive investing to cover our lifestyle.
Yeah.
So now I just get to do whatever I love to do. And some of it is work, but a lot of it is because they love doing the work. I want to be able to do the work because I love to do it, and I get to do it, not because I have to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big component to finding your individual happiness too. When you have the chance to pursue things in that fashion where it's not like, okay, well, I have to get up and go to work today. It's not, no, I get to. It's that you can be a little more grateful for things in that fashion, because you have the choice. When you don't have the choice, it feels like somebody's, holding a gun to your head, in certain instances, like, hey, you know what, that electric bill is not going to get paid if I don't go to work, and all that kind of stuff. I got car payments, I got kids in college, whatever the case may be. So, finding those things that give you those kinds of options, I think it's pretty powerful. And actually,
absolutely it is.
That leads me to, your podcast. Hey, from one podcaster to another, I got to give you a chance to plug your own. So tell me about your podcast, Life by Design.
So we started Life by Design last year. And the reason why I started that podcast is I wanted other people to see how other professionals have designed their life into a successful life. There's not just one way to be successful. There's multiple ways. I want people to know, and I kind of selfish. I want to learn more about these folks in terms of how are they doing? Like, what are they doing with their life? And it's from TED Talk, stage, people to a dentist who owns 8 different practices, to other doctors, to a MD turned life coach from South Africa. Right. And it's like, wow, how did this happen? And ultimately it's those folks were just not afraid to chase their dream. No, people, we're all told no as kids, right?
Yeah.
We get told no so many more times than we get told yes. And eventually, by the time we hit our teenage years, we get, our souls are crushed. And then we tend to just follow what everyone else is doing because we've been told so many times no when we try to do something a little bit more creative. Either our parents said no or our teachers said no. And that podcast is really to show other folks out there that, hey, it is possible to be able to design a life on your terms. You don't have to follow what everyone else is doing or what your neighbor is doing.
Yeah.
Follow your passion and your dreams.
For sure. No, I agree completely. That's a big part of what my podcast is about. we kind of do some of the same things. And that's what, I think the reason why you and I have connected so well is because, we've had our eyes opened a little bit. We've had our mindset shifted and it's amazing how the world opens up when that happens. It's amazing the creativity that you can find when you start looking at other people's stories and start hearing these different perspectives and just people that are doing things in, like you said, that little bit of a more creative way. I think that just, I don't know about you. It feeds me. It feeds my soul a bit. And it's part of why I just really enjoy listening to those kinds of stories and meeting those types of people. Because it's a neat opportunity to see something a little bit different.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
So, okay, you've got your own chiropractic business. You've got your, multifamily business. You have a podcast, but that's not enough because you're a serial entrepreneur, man. You decided to venture down the path that led you to co-found the Streamline Team. So you had, and this is how I got to know a little. I mean, I didn't know about you. I just knew of you when I was at Multifamily Mastery 5. I saw people with your shirts all over the place. And so tell me about that journey, creating Streamline Team. What did that look like?
Yeah. So that's a whole journey in itself, when we got into real estate, there was another investor, another student in Jake and Gino. My partner, Valerie Shara, she and Helen were part of this women's, real estate group, right? Where the ladies got together and they started chatting. And Helen got off the phone one day and she's like, wow, Valerie's a really go-getter. You should connect with her. She's really awesome. She's from Ohio, right? And I was like, cool. I said, and we hopped on the phone together. And on the first phone call, Valerie says, Alex, I'm thinking about this one thing where I like to do something with virtual assistants because she had one virtual assistant at the time. And she says, well, I want a virtual assistant. And then the other folks are wanting virtual assistants. So they're asking me how to do it. So she's like, I want to start a program or service where we help people find virtual assistants. She's just like, I don't know how to do it though. I don't know anything about business and this and that. She's like, do you have any experience in virtual assistants? And at the time, I believe I have 4 or 5 virtual assistants on my team full time. So she's like, well, you seem like you have some experience with virtual assistants. I said, yeah. I said, Valerie, well, I've ran my own practice for the last 12, 13 years now. And I've been using virtual assistants for the last 6. So I said, if you are really, going to be gung-ho about it, why don't we start something together? I said, and we'll see what happens. I said, if you think there's a need for it, I'm willing to dive in and figure it out.
Yeah.
So we did. And not understanding that because we got into real estate and the Streamline team, I myself now has a team of 10 full-time virtual assistants.
Wow.
So I have a team of 10. When you see all my posts on social media, I have to thank all that to my team.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, we've helped real estate professionals, doctors, other business owners. And on the 30th of December, we celebrated as a company virtually, right? And besides us, there were 34 other virtual assistants on our team, all wearing the Streamline Team shirt with the Streamline Team background, virtual background. I mean, it was just a blessing, and that business flourished faster than I thought it would, because our whole mission is to help other people who are also in business grow and scale virtually.
Yeah.
You see, so that's kind of where it took that. With 34 VAs, our goal is to triple that this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where.
No, I mean, I think
it is.
That's amazing, because I know myself, like I struggled in the beginning. Like I've never hired and fired before. I've had my own sole proprietorship, in the past, but I've never really been a person who was a manager of people. And
Right.
so first off, knowing exactly what you're looking for, and secondly, finding somebody who's qualified to deliver that. Everybody says, oh, well, just go on Fiverr or, some of these other
Right.
websites and just go find somebody overseas. And, and I found somebody initially when I was trying to start this podcast, and it quickly became apparent that person did not have the skill set that I needed for them to have, and they did not have the response time. And, once you've kind of gone through that, and it's like, oh, wow, that didn't work. What do I do now? How
Right.
I mean, there's a sea of people to choose
see,
from. Like, how in the world do I go through this sea of people and try to find one person?
one.
Yeah. So,
and that's where a lot of people have been burned.
yeah.
You've tried it, and now you're like, no, virtual assistant is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten a lot of that from our own clients where they've tried it and they say, well, Alex, how are you guys going to be different? And I said, well, here's the thing. We know exactly, first of all, here's the process, just to give you I'll give you some secrets of what we actually do.
Cool.
Okay. So say if you need a virtual assistant, I don't just hire one and then say, here, Bobby, here you are. At first, you and I will get on a discovery call, because I need to know what you need in your business.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get a better understanding of what your business is, what the needs are, how are you going to deliver it? For example, I had a discovery call with a real estate professional this morning, and he says, I need direct to seller help. And I said, okay, what do you say need to direct to seller campaign and help? I said, what do you mean? Are you mailing? Are you texting? Are you emailing? Are you calling? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so he told me what he needed. And I said, now that you told me exactly in detail what you need, I know what the skill sets are of this virtual assistant. Then I asked, well, if the virtual assistant came with these skills, are you willing to train? Because most people think that they're people. I said, this is just like an employee that you hire with great foundation. They don't come in knowing exactly how to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you to train them how you want it done.
Yep.
And then I go out and I look for people. I have a hiring manager on staff, and she's phenomenal. And she does the initial interview. When she finds someone good, someone that you need, I then interview her.
Mm-hmm.
See, after I interview them, him or her, now they've gone through 2 interviews now. As a client, you get to interview them. You're the 3rd interview.
Okay, cool.
And you get to decide whether they're a good fit. And the thing is, I don't do yearly contracts where I'm locking you in for a whole year. I'm month to month because I want to prove to you that we're going to do a great job every month, not just the first 2 months.
No,
So
I think that's great. I think that's great, man. I think it is definitely something that is needed within not just the real estate profession, but I mean, there are people out here that are trying to have their own businesses, whether they're working with, network marketing or, any number of different businesses. I've interviewed people who are inventors and they're creating these products and stuff, but they're also, not only are they the CEO of their company that's created this product and is trying to market it out to people, but they're also managing their own social media. They're doing all of the work themselves. And, that becomes very time consuming and it can lead to burnout, especially if you're doing a lot of things that you don't enjoy doing, and that's where the value of virtual assistants is really high, because they can take that burden of those things that you don't like to do off of you so that you can focus on the things that feed you as a business owner.
Right. I attended a seminar where they asked each and every one of us, what is your superpower?
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked, why are you not only doing that? Delegate everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, holy moly. Then I read the book, Who Not How.
Mm-hmm.
And that threw me for a loop as well. So,
all right. And I'm going to put that in the show notes, Who Not How. And that way people could check out that book as well. But man, Alex, we've gone over a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. And I know that you and I could keep talking about this stuff. And our first get to know each other conversation went on for quite a while. So, but before we go, I want to make sure that listeners have a chance to get a hold of you, pick your brain, find out more about you. So how can they do that?
I think the best way to reach out to me is through LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. And if you people who want to connect, I'll send you a Calendly link. You could text me, and I do respond to text all the time. My number is 775-717-0090. But I feel like LinkedIn is best because I get to know who you are. You get to know me. And it gets to hold on to all the messages so I can look back and say, hey, what did Bobby say again?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll connect and find out how we connected. And I love talking to people just like this, just like you, Bobby. And I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, dude, it's been such a treat learning more about you and your story, your background. I just have to thank you, so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Bobby.
Alex stumbled onto apartment syndications by accident, as many people often do. It's funny how we can find answers we aren't looking for when we maintain an open mind. But the reason he was even in that situation is what is more telling for me. Alex was already a successful chiropractor, husband, father, and businessman. He didn't really need to do anything else to have a comfortable lifestyle, but because he was willing to push for more personal growth, he put himself in a position to succeed even further. That's the lesson I took away from his story. How about you? Did you take anything else away from our conversation? If so, reach out to me on social or put it in a review of the show. In the meantime, that's going to do it for today's episode. This is Bobby Jones signing off. Until next time, stay safe and take care of each other out there.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Plan B CRNA podcast. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed the show, I'd be honored if you took the extra time. It really helps to expand our reach and get the word out about the show. If you're a CRNA who is interested in sharing your story on our podcast, I'd love to have you. Please email me at bobby@oncallinvestments.com for more information. This episode was brought to you by On-Call Capital. They are dedicated to helping providers like you develop passive income and generational wealth through investments in the apartment and alternative investment spaces. Feel free to check out their website at www.oncallinvestments.com and subscribe to their free educational email series. You can find On-Call Capital on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also check out our YouTube page, where you'll find all of the show episodes along with other educational videos. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.